Call of Duty commentary videos are blowing up again on YouTube right now. Channels like these are getting thousands of subscribers by simply telling stories and giving advice to each other over footage of games that came out around a decade ago. I remember a time when these types of videos exploded back in the 2010s. YouTubers like Woody's Gamertag or Whiteboy 7th Street or Ali A dominated my homepage. And while it wasn't my first exposure to YouTube, it was the first wave of content creators that really got me hooked. I feel like it's really easy to dismiss this type of content as some kind of like nostalgia bait, but recently most of the content in my feed feels very soulless and inauthentic. The rise of AI slop is really the first thing that comes to my mind. But if I really think about it, over the last decade, we've all kind of been subjected to these gurus trying to sell you some kind of their own slop, or those manosphere content creators like Andrew Tate and company that just put on some kind of act to get your attention. Sure, the flashy, high-value production content will always have its place, and I'd be lying if I said that those videos were going out of style anytime soon. However, I think now more than ever, what people actually want to do is relate to the individuals they get their advice from. I feel like there's a massive gap in the marketplace here on YouTube that has only recently started to be filled by actual humans. There was a really good example of this. I'm sure I can find this in post-production, but that guy that was working at a gas station who made that video about his life being over, that content worked because we all have either been there in our lives at one point, or we feel like that in our current situations, or we know someone exactly like that. Sure, this guy isn't teaching you anything, like I said before, but this type of content blowing up is exactly the same reason why I think these commentary videos are working so well right now. We all need someone to relate to. Here I think is the key difference between the recent commentary trend and the previous 2010s era though. The people making these videos are actually trying to teach you something actionable. Instead of thousands of 15-year-olds turning on their mic and talking about essentially nothing for 20 minutes, those 15-year-old kids that grew up on that type of content have lived enough life to actually be able to teach you some valuable skills. We've all gotten jobs, started families, or made money online, or accomplished something that's gotten us to where we are today. And that's another really good point that I learned from someone close to me recently. It's much easier to learn from someone who's been in your shoes last week as opposed to someone from 20 years ago. A lot of really successful people you see online don't actually give bad advice. It's just that they've been removed from your problems for so long that it's hard to see the actual message behind what they're saying, rather than someone talking to you about very specific problems you just overcame yourself, or they just overcame on their own. A great example of this is Alex Hormozi. I love Alex, I watch his content all the time. But when I hear him talk about AI, I just can't help but get the feeling that he doesn't get the full scope of the problems people just starting out have.
So let me tell you where the next trillion-dollar companies are coming from. So think about ChatGPT, et cetera, as kind of the engine or the platform of the internet. All of these companies were built on top of that base layer. And so the AI that starts to figure out how to diagnose medical conditions faster, better, cheaper than physicians can, trillion-dollar business. The people who can gather all of the data of all of the sales calls and then feed them into their AI will have a consistent, sustained competitive advantage because they will always have more information than the guy who starts later than them. And so the idea is you want to start that data flywheel as fast as you can so that you can build that moat that makes your sales AI better than anyone else's. And that is where huge amounts of economic value are going to be created in the short to medium term.
They can offer really direct and specific examples of moments where they overcame these obstacles in the current version of the world. This is kind of similar to when your parents give you advice. Like, yeah, they're right, but there's certain truths you kind of have to feel out or learn for yourself. I do kind of wonder the long-term view of this type of content. Is this just going to be some kind of quick like trend that dies out these type of videos, or is this something that is able to last long-term and sustain? My personal belief on that is it will be more long-term than I think a lot of people expect. And the reason for that is the rise of like second monitor podcast type of content. For me, what I view YouTube, it is most of the time like on in the background while I accomplish some task. I'm usually trying to learn something new while I'm getting my current work done, or trying to just play a game or something like that. So I think that even a lot of people that haven't played those games and that kind of nostalgia factor, if that's not clicking for them in the same way, they're still going to watch the content itself because the value you're getting out of that video is exactly the same. Kind of in the same way those Subway Surfer TikToks used to be really popular. They're reading you some kind of story or teaching you some kind of advice over Subway Surfer footage. I never actually played Subway Surfers. I have no interest in Subway Surfers, but I'd be lying to you again if I told you I've never actually stuck through and watched one of those videos. It's just background visuals to get the information that I'm trying to get. I also think too that if that content does start to die down, it'll be really easy to pivot these kind of channels to something else, right? It's not like they're making really, really ultra specific type of content. You could easily just start turning a camera on and giving the same advice yourself face to face, or switching to another kind of gamer format if that becomes more popular. Clearly, I think this type of content is worth making because look at the video you're watching right now. I'm not trying to pretend like I have all the answers of the world figured out, or I have as much information or drive as someone like Alex Hormozi. But I have lived a lot of life, and I would argue a lot of untraditional life experience as well. So I'm 28 years old, I have no college degree, but I make all of my money from YouTube, essentially. I work primarily as a video editor and a content strategist for other YouTubers who are willing to put their face on camera, and in an office full of a lot of other people who work on like content and marketing strategies. My boss also has a TV show too. I don't want to give away too much information here. I'm sure you could figure it out if you did your deep diving on me as a person or through a lot of the information that I give here. But I guess my point is there's a lot of people I work very closely with that I frankly would feel kind of embarrassed to have them see me teach like this on my own kind of channel, right? So personally, I don't really care if you don't believe me, but I do have all this information and I want to try to pass it down to as many people as possible, just because I also feel like it's important. If I was to go back in time to when I was 14 years old, but funny enough, about the same age I was when I was watching like Call of Duty YouTube commentary videos, right? I kind of wanted this life for myself. I saw these YouTubers making this money just doing these kind of commentary videos and just playing games and talking. And I was like, oh my God, I want that for myself too. I actually made some really bad videos. I'm sure I could put in a clip here too, if I'm not too embarrassed by it.
I got the flowers there. It's like, oh, fuck.
But I've learned how to actually make this thing work. I'm not attempting to sell some course. I'm not attempting to tell you, look, I'm making 10K a month off YouTube. You should do like faceless YouTube channels and stuff like that or anything. But the money is out there. Like, I don't know how else to tell you, but like the money is real. You can touch it. You could get people to give it to you. And like giving those skills to my 14-year-old self earlier, like being able to put myself in those positions earlier would have been immensely valuable for me. All of that to say, in the future, I want this channel to be educating people on how to build businesses online, how to get into video editing and content creation, and how to actually be able to touch that money yourself. Because to be truly honest with you, after grinding out this like video editing kind of, it's not really like a marketing agency, but just having a client list that I grind out YouTube videos for, it's getting really draining. Not only am I competing with these other like AI slot machines, but for a while I've been competing with all these outsourced editors. So in my mind, it was like, okay, let's make the pivot switch to being more content strategist. And that's kind of worked for me. I make a lot of money full-time doing that for someone else too. But, you know, and I'm sure other people can relate to this too, I am absolutely grinding it out to build a machine for someone else. And I think over the past couple years of building that like kind of content strategy business for other people, I've realized it's better to be the person that actually owns the machine that compounds rather than grinding that work out for someone else too. Not to say that there's like a lack of value in actually having a job. I still have a job myself. I have no plans on leaving it. I love my job. When I am grinding things out, I want to be grinding things out for my own machine over time. I want these messages to compound. I want to teach other people how to get in the position that I'm in currently, and I want to be the actual owner of that machine, if that makes sense. I understand that's a little bit of a detour from what this video was originally supposed to be about, but I do think the first step is being aware of the current opportunities in the market. And I just want to say it does not matter who you are. I know I even made fun of like 14 or 15-year-olds earlier for just turning on microphones and saying nothing. But I also will tell you this, that is probably the first step for you as well too. Like, I definitely tried to make those videos when I was younger, and if I felt discouraged, I would never have gotten to the point where I am now. So do it. Just turn on a camera or a microphone and just teach people things that you've learned yourself. Because someone out there is wondering, how am I going to overcome this? Actually, this is a really good point. I kind of think an underserved niche on YouTube. I've been talking to other people that run channels and build these other channels as well too. And I don't think I'm going to take any action on this or anything. But think about how big like Khan Academy got just by teaching people math, I do think there's some kind of market out there as well too for like helping other people like get through high school or get through college, or maybe an alternative education path, right? Maybe there are people out there who want to go through like a community college or some kind of vocational school, right? Or learn some kind of trade. You know, I've thought about that a few times in my life, but I always kind of wondered, where the heck would I start? So if you are someone that has ever started that journey, getting people over that hump is like half the battle. So please do yourself a favor. No, do the world a favor and teach other people just how to get started. And if you can just do that over and over and over again, clearly there's a market for that somewhere. In the future, these videos will be a lot more thought out. I have a few more ideas I want to go over on this channel in a more structured manner shortly, but I do want to hear from you. Please leave a comment down below if any of the topics in this realm interest you at all, and I would love to go ahead and cover them as well. I also know myself very deeply at this point, and I know that once I go over like the 4 or 5 ideas I have to talk about, I'm going to sit there in my room and go, I have no idea. In the same way that I've kind of stumbled through this already myself, right? So please, if you have more directed questions about someone who has built YouTube channels, has built businesses online, has gotten clients, has done video editing, has worked in marketing agencies, or, you know, potentially even just general life mindset, or I don't want to be like a financial guy at all, but I do think there are some really basic things we can go over there. Voice crack. What am I, 14 again? Some very basic things we could go over there too. Would love to hear from you. I would love to talk to you more. I love you in some way. All right. Bye.